name is Fannie Miller Beard. I was born in Poughkeepsie, New York. I have a son, Darren, and a granddaughter, Denisha, and my husband's name is Gary. After retiring from the U.S. Postal Service as a manager of workers' comp, I became interested, reinterested in the collage art series. I used to do it when I was in Poughkeepsie, but when I moved, I threw a lot of it away, grave error, due to spacing. So I started again after retirement. I met the art teacher at one of the schools in Mount Vernon, Mr. Jesse Henry, who inspired me to reignite those roots into the collage arts. Although I've not had any formal training in the arts, I was drawn to the collage format by Romare Bearden and Leroy Campbell, Jacob Lawrence, some of the famous black artists that most collegians look up to. I pretty much take art from the natural elements, branches, woods, paper, glass, beads, and combine them into whatever inspiration hits my mind at the time. Once I lay out the materials, usually a view comes into my mind, and that's what I place on the board. Most of the inspiration for my art comes from my ancestors. I have photos from the 1800s which I use to elaborate and embellish and project what I thought my ancestors would look like at that time. Also from history and whatever inspires me from the Black history past. As a self-taught artist, I didn't really feel that I had the skills to paint or sculpt, but I wanted to express myself, and this is the format I found was most compatible to those efforts. I was inspired by Romare Bearden, who to me is probably the most well-known collegist around. Also Leroy Campbell, I love his Neckbone series. Jacob Lawrence in his series that he does of the migration. Most of the popular black artists are compatible with my style. This piece is entitled Ama and Debule, and it's based on the women in Africa who use beads and metal rungs to stretch their neck to appear more beautiful. I didn't feel there was a need for a face on this piece because actually her neck is supposed to be the beauty of her, and that's what I stressed, the neck and the head wrap. These two pieces were inspired from the heart. This one is entitled Jazzy Nana J, and the J is for Juanita. This was my grandmother, my mother's mother. I had a picture of her from 1905 or so that I felt would benefit from a bit of embellishment. And the cowrie seeds or shells are just a finishing touch around a beautiful woman. This one is of my mother, and it's entitled Mama Z, and my mother's name was Zilphia. I sent two of these, one to each of my sisters as a heritage piece, and I also embellished her. This was taken around the 1930s, and it's a piece that lives in my heart. This piece is entitled My Sister's Keeper. These are my relatives from Rhinebeck, New York in the 1800s, approximately 1870 or so. I had an old Bible that had black and white photos of many of my relatives on horses and in wagons, and this piece struck me as they were a bit more dressed for Sunday church. So I embellished that and gave each one a pink hat and assumed they were sisters. This piece is entitled Sunday Heritage, and it takes me back to the days of church in Virginia when we used to go down for family reunions. I have my family members around the church, and around them is a layout of soul food. And it brought me back to the days when we go back to Virginia for family reunion and have church all day and dinner all day after the service. It's an inspirational piece that I felt reflected the most of my soul.